Cool. That's new.
Got it.
Cool. So I kind of just started on Contaminated Sound, the interview series, initially early or late 2019, where I was like, I want to take, add a different dynamic to my photographs, and so I started like interviewing people on site with like just a little Sony Handycam with, me being off camera, off frame, and then, you know, I really just wanted to. My thesis now is still just having a casual conversation with all sorts of artisans, no matter music, comedy, actors, fine artisans, poets, writers. Just really just have casual conversations on why they continue to do what they do and how they've had to adapt through these challenging times for all the artists, all the arts, and culture in general. So I just
Right.
love having conversations with a diverse range of persons. So that's a bit of the synopsis about the show and how I came to be here right now. But so what's new with you, man, Henry? Sorry, like I
Oh no,
yeah,
it's good for me to get
yeah,
familiar with what's going on here, what you're doing, and it sounds like a cool thing to be part of.
yeah.
Yeah.
I generally don't edit. I just generally uh, just toss it up on YouTube and just maybe edit in black and white. That's it. But so whatever happens, happens. So cool, man. How you been, man? Throughout this like pandemic time and all that. Like, what have you
Been
been?
a weird year. Not a great year, obviously, for just the world in general, but and yeah, music and the arts and a lot of cool venues are gone, and but now we're starting to see things return to normal or even upgrade. I will say, like, in a weird way, it was like a good time to sort of reset, kind of, I guess. Like
Mm,
I went initially when we initially went into lockdown, I was like weirdly a part of me that was like, I didn't realize needed to just kind of simplify things and start from scratch and reset. And so I got that, but then, I got what I needed out of that, and then it lasted another year. So, or another, but it was a good time to work on recording, I guess. Uh, I was lucky that I was able to kind of continue. I'd started tracking a new album out in Brooklyn right before everything shut down. Actually, it was in November 2019,
mm,
and got a good amount of tracking done, and then was going to continue it here anyways. But then things shut down, and I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to, how much I was going to be able to use the studio. And so I was able to do some stuff at the other studio I work at, and then it was a good excuse to get my home mixing and overdub studio situation up and running finally. So went through a few iterations, and now I've got a setup I feel confident with, and so I did a bulk of the stuff here, which was
mm.
cool too, just as far as like overdubs and things. But yeah, and it was also a good time to upgrade. We were able to do upgrades at the studio. Things were moving slow enough. It was kind of like, let's get, all the ducks in order that you can't really have time to. Is ducks in order a phrase that people say? Ducks in a row?
Ducks in a row. Yeah,
Right.
that's a bit out of order, but
Yeah. Yeah. But kind
I'm
of
terrible with those kind of catchphrases or whatever you call them. See, yeah, catchphrases, not catchphrases, but I
Yeah.
forget what they call them. Either way, yeah, I
Yeah.
get it. Yeah,
Yeah. So it's been a good time to like just kind of get everything that you can't find the time to do, and things are just moving. So in that sense, it was a good year. But that's just trying to find silver lining, obviously. But I'm
mm,
happy to now finally be booking shows and tours, and finally have a release date for the album set. And yeah, it's good to be like, I played one show back opening up for John Doe from the band X, and it was like pretty nerve-wracking, like ahead of time, and I forgot my tuner at home and was worried about being late, and it was just like all the things are like, oh yeah, I forgot like all these elements, just to returning to the world. But once I got on stage, it was super fun, and I was like, oh yeah, I definitely missed this. So
Oh yeah, like I've
yeah,
been dying to shoot myself. Like I still haven't kind of gone out and shot a show yet. You know, I don't know how you feel like about like large indoor kind of shows yet. Because I know like the Foo Fighters did their massive show in Madison Square Garden, but
right.
and then I was like, I don't know if I'd feel comfortable in that situation, but with outdoor venues, I'm pretty comfortable with. But how do
Totally.
you feel about that? Like,
Yeah, it's weird. Like I'm just trying to go by what they say as far as the statistics with the vaccinations and things, and I feel pretty safe because I'm fully vaccinated. But at the same time, I'm still been so conditioned this last year. Like when I go to a grocery store, I'm still wearing a mask, and I know that like half the people aren't, and I get maybe weird looks because people maybe think I'm not vaccinated or something, but I'm just extra paranoid.
yeah,
But
yeah,
so it is a little weird. But that said, I think there are a couple of the shows coming up. I'm playing a show with the full band next month that is indoors, I believe.
yeah,
And yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. You know, it could be. Hopefully, we keep on a good track with that, with everything, and it remains safe. And if not, then maybe these shows will be like a window, another little window where we get to have some fun before it's not safe. But I don't know. Yeah, I guess we're just apprehensive but hopeful at the same time, and just trying to take it a step at a time, and um yeah, just hoping for the best, I guess.
yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, as far as going to shows, I did buy tickets to see Courtney Barnett at the Fox Theater in Oakland in December, and that's going to be like the biggest indoor show I will have like been to since everything shut down.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Hopefully, like I said, I mean, hopefully it's things keep on track and it's safer, not less safe. But yeah,
But it's like yeah, like I've been trying to integrate myself back into society. You know, like I've been vaccinated since March, so I've been going.
yeah,
We kind of stay outside the city in Beacon, New York, right now. So it's like an hour and a half from New York. So I've been
cool.
kind of just going into the city, trying to just like train myself to get adapted to
Yeah,
human interaction again. You know, so I've even like started kind of volunteering at this cultural lab where in Long Island City, where they built this beautiful outdoor venue, which is amazing, and to start volunteering, get back into the mix of things too. Like it's weird, like you still have this. Like I see people without mask on the train. I'm like, it's federally mandated, and I'm like giving them looks, or I'm like somebody coughs. I'm like, it's still kind
yeah,
of like jumpy, you know?
totally. Yeah, I know, man. It is a weird. It's weird. It's I just got so accustomed to. Yeah, I mean, it was so not safe and not safe, and I was like definitely one of the few. I mean, I was one of the people that was like just always erring on the side of caution throughout the last year,
Yeah,
and so it's like definitely. But I was, also like have to remind myself, like I was waiting for them to say it was okay again, and they kind of have.
hmm.
At least out in California now, they like it's not mandated to masks indoors and things like that, but it's up to the business's discretion. So I just do it anyway. It's just but it is like yeah, I guess it's just a weird adjustment. It's something that I don't feel none of us have gone through in our
Yeah,
life. So it's like the weird little mental tricks that that
yeah,
it plays on you is just strange, the remnants of it all. And it's not like we're out, there's the Delta virus, the Delta strain, and all these things that are like looming. So hopefully just keep fingers crossed that the vaccines keep working. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, totally, man. So just to get off topic of not off
Yeah, yeah.
topic, just let's not just we could
Switch it
discuss
up.
COVID for an hour or two, for
Yeah.
this long, this conversation. But
Not what your viewers like. Yeah.
what's that?
It's not what your viewers like.
I don't know. I generally, I don't know. I just toss it up. I didn't even look at this after, man. I do not look like looking at myself or, to be honest. Well, I keep it real. So
Yeah.
but my underlying kind of thesis for the show, like I said,
Yeah.
is just really what makes you, continue to create music, I guess. So I mean, I like to dive into like a little background, like how did you get like started? Like what really inspired you to, pursue music full time?
Right.
So get that background information, whatever.
Yeah. Well, like I started playing music from a really young age. I was kind of raised with it around. My mom was a singer-songwriter, and my dad was a recording engineer down in Hollywood back in like the 80s. Worked at Cherokee Studios,
Mm,
and when my older brother George was born, they moved uh, to get out of the craziness down there up to the Bay Area here and into Santa Cruz. And he had gear saved up from the years. And so like when we moved to the house that I grew up in from like age 6 or 7 on, they built he built a recording studio in the back. So we were kind of raised and encouraged to, like music and play music. And it was like and we definitely took to it. And I, like me and my brother, played in a band, and starting in like junior high and through high school, called My Stupid Brother. It was like pop punk kind of stuff.
mm,
And recorded, figured out how to record doing those albums. And then I don't know, for me it was just like we were like homeschooled until I was in 6th grade. It was like with like a sort of like a small class chartered homeschool program a few days a week.
mm.
And I don't know, just kind of felt like a way. I had a lot of time on my hands, and I just really took to it. And I guess like it's always hard to talk about it without like risking sounding pretentious or whatever, or dramatic, but like definitely throughout, as I got older and like started processing life, music just continued to be the way that I did that, I guess.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
like yeah, and I've realized as I got older, like that's why I keep doing it. Like, when you first start making music and trying to get it out there, like it's easy to like get confused, I guess, with like, oh, outside perception, or like wanting it to be really liked, or wanting it to, worried about how it's perceived, or wanting to make it huge and all that stuff, But it's like the more I play and the more I keep putting it out, it's like, why am I really doing it? I think it's just because I kind of have to do it. So it's
mm,
like the process of making music is necessary for me. And once you make it, it's like I want to put it out there too. I want to
yeah.
share it because people like it if it means something to someone. Yeah.
Cool. Well, can you talk to me about that process then? Like, I'm so used to the visual process and trying to create a visual language, and I know that language, like that I have like my own kind of like I would say like mathematical equation, for my what I want to output. I guess like regarding music, like how how do you approach it? I guess like when you're trying to create new stuff. I guess like what is that process like for you?
Um, well, like when I'm making new music, it's different every time. Sometimes it like I definitely feel like I use the studio and as like an instrument in a way. Like I sometimes I'll start building up a song. I'm working on just a new one now that I finally signed off on the mixes for this album. I'm like, there's a few things that were like rough ideas in my head that I'm like, oh cool, I can start like thinking about how this is going to unfold. So sometimes it'll start like that, where I'll just open up a session and I just could start out with a guitar riff, and then I build off of it, and it totally changes as I add acoustic and electronic elements to it. Sometimes it's just kind of classic me and a guitar or a piano and a melody idea. And
Mm,
I'm always trying to write lyrics all like kind of all the time, because I get stuck on them or I become a perfectionist with them. So if I have stuff to pull from that matches like a certain cadence and rhyme scheme, then it's like, and vibe, it's like can be a great starting point or way to fill in the blanks. So I'm kind of always piecing something together. Like it's a lot of times not just it's great when it works out where I just like sit down and write a song and it's like, oh wow, that's those are like my favorite songs sometimes because it just like came out and just a few tweaks after it and it's done. But like a lot of times it's like I'm always like writing songs guerrilla style where it's like I'll have a guitar like, oh, I gotta record this some voice memo on my phone, and then it's like, oh, that would work with the lyric, and or I'll just start with like a little beat in there and not have any sort of vocals in mind for it all, and then I'll listen to it in my car and just hum along, and then words will start to form. And so it's kind of like an ever moving thing, and they unfold as they go. But I try to keep a backlog of a bunch of different ideas so that I can kind of put the puzzle together.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know if that's a really convoluted answer to your question, but
no, it's perfectly fine, man. I get it too. Like I have like a million ideas myself, so I have like an Excel sheet. I just dump them in. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. Sometimes they're just too large or I don't have the components right now to execute. But over time, things just happen too. So I'll work on something else, and then something comes along, and then things happen. I guess, yeah.
right.
I guess, are any sounds that really influenced you in the past, and then also like kind of what are you kind of like into now, like sound wise and music wise or performers wise?
Well, yeah, like early influences. I was like a huge Beatles kid. Like my parents had all their records, and I remember like in preschool I had like a copy of Rubber Soul that I showed for show and tell,
Yeah.
and the kids probably thought I was super weird. But but like I was a big Beatles fan, and then I found my parents had Nirvana Nevermind in their CD collection, and I got obsessed with that. And then when I grew up, I was a kid in the 90s and early 2000s, so it was like what was going on then. I think the first CDs I picked out ever were like I think it was like Third Eye Blind's first record and Smash Mouth's first record and Matchbox 20's first record, and I was like in elementary school.
Yeah.
And then I got really into like Weezer and Green Day and like kind of more leaning into the pop punkish alternative rock kind of stuff. Presidents of the United States I really liked when I was that age. And then
Yeah.
Marcy Playground I loved. And then as I got a little older, like when I was starting to get interested in like what was current, I got really into like all the bands that were coming out in the early 2000s. Well, I love like Elliott Smith, and I also like all the like the bands I call them, like the Vines and the Hives and the Strokes and the White Stripes. I got really into all that stuff, and that kind of rock revival kind of stuff. And Ben Queller, I always really liked Ben Queller. And then more recently though, like as things like in the last 5-10 years or whatever, and currently there's some artists I really like. I mentioned Courtney Barnett. I think she's great. I really like Phoebe Bridgers. The artist Still Woozy is cool. Andy Schauf, Mac DeMarco, Kurt Biles got some cool stuff. Cage the Elephant, I really thought that a couple of their albums I really like a lot. Melophobia and Thank You Happy Birthday, particularly, those ones are awesome. There's a lot of great new music out there. That Peach Pit album that came out, I think it was last year, was pretty cool. I thought. Yeah, I kind of keep trying to make myself listen to just new stuff that comes out, just and ask. That's one of the perks. Actually, I record other bands too, and
Cool.
I always ask them, for reference tracks, or just like also just like what should I check out? And I find a lot of cool new music that way. Just I feel like the more stuff you genuinely like, the more you can kind of your sound can just develop, I guess, too, just by osmosis or whatever, you know what I mean? Instead of that's kind of the way that's the way I try to think of it now, at least, like not trying to sound like a specific artist or genre or anything. I feel like I've growing pains from, you know, when I was younger in other bands doing that. But like, I feel like the more you can just like more stuff, then the more your stuff's gonna sound, I don't know, unique or cool. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Oh, so like kind of touching upon that, like when did you like when was like the point you're like, oh, this is how I want to sound, like and create your, I guess, musical language, your own unique sound, you know? When was that point for you? Because
I
you
mean,
know,
it was,
like you
yeah,
said early on, you just try to emulate other sound, you know, more successful musicians or artists, and you try to build upon and you deconstruct that song, you know, whatever, and how they did it, and then you try to figure it out. But
yeah,
once you start getting into music, and you're like, this is it, this is my craft. Like, when was
right.
the point and period where you're like, this is how I want to sound, and this is me right here in my voice, I guess.
I feel like the first EP that I put out with my name on it was the first time I felt that sort of because I've been, yeah, like you said, like in my old band it was very like I cringed looking at old pictures and videos, and also just the music of like it was so me trying to sound like my voice and everything, trying to sound like Billy Joe Armstrong from Green Day in like some songs, and then like try to sound like Kurt Cobain in other songs.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like I hear that awkward like, and my voice had just changed, and it was just like, but it was, you know, in retrospect, it was me trying to figure out just how to construct a song, you know, and you learn from the things that you like and try to mirror those things. And so the last album I did with them, it felt like it was getting closer. I'd spent a lot of time on that recording. It's like the one thing that I did with them that I can look back at and not cringe, you know, just because I feel like I learned a lot about just how to make it sound good by that point. Like objectively, like better sounding stuff, I think.
Yeah.
And then, but it did feel like a hob job where it was like a few songs sounded like this and a few songs sounded like these bands. But I was starting to like feel like, oh, I feel like that was the lesson I took away from that was like, I need to blend everything and not try, you know, not, I think it was just try less a little bit. And just like, if I feel like I'm reminding myself of something I like too much, then add a different element to it, or just pare that back a little bit. So, and then I feel like the first EP I put out in 2016, that was like the first one where I was like, I feel like this is like me more. Like there's elements of everything I like. I'm not like saying no to this element because I feel like it doesn't belong in this song, because that's not what they would do. It's like, no, because of that, I should just add it in because that's more what I would do.
Yeah.
You know? And that was a lesson that I learned, and I still stick with, I think, when I'm putting out music. It's just like, don't try not to overthink it. And, you know, I think it's been a double-edged sword because my stuff falls kind of between the cracks. And sometimes it's hard for it to find a home, or people don't know how to classify it, because it's, which is kind of weird for me because I feel like it's, to me, it just feels normal, but it's also, you know, it's like, is it indie or is it garage rock or is it like folk or is it alternative or what, you know, which they're also similar, I feel like, but yeah, I still just believe in that sort of philosophy. So I just keep doing that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, like looking back from like 2016, was it when you first released your first EP? Was it, or
Yeah, 2016 was the first EP. Yeah.
and from now, how do you think you've kind of evolved? I guess in sound, or have you?
Yeah, I
I
think I have.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I keep getting more and more comfortable being more vulnerable. I mean, maybe it's grown, maybe it's just growing and maturing. Some of my new album, like it features more acoustic guitar, or it's a little slower. There's some more tender tracks, if you will.
Yeah.
And I really liked doing that. Like I would throw one or two songs like that onto an album before, and I don't know, I feel like that's just like, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I've just been more, you get older, you get a little more reflective, or a little more melancholy, or that side of yourself starts to shine through more than the rambunctious, angry, guy.
Yeah.
So um, I think it's evolved in that way. I showed it to my manager for the first time, and he was like, "Oh yeah, wow, there's a lot. It's a lot more mellow and kind of mature than the other stuff." And because he had only heard the last batches of songs, and so it was. I think it's definitely changed in that way. But like I said, I also think it has to do with the music I'm listening to and the things I'm liking. I've been I referenced a few of those artists. Like it's inspiring when I don't know. It's inspiring when there's something that I hear that I don't know where I'm going with this. I thought I was going somewhere cool, but basically, I like when I hear music that I like, and
Yeah.
and it's nice when it's music that's something different that I wouldn't have thought it like. That I'm like, oh man, I've been like so scared to do something that's along this genre, but like this is something I like. This is something like that is so cool. I've done it so well, you know.
Have you
Uh,
ever like experimented like just like weird like sounds, or like maybe you
yeah,
haven't put them out live or in an album or a song, but just some really experimental stuff? Or
yeah. Actually, in that way, that I think that might be something that this new album has too. That's a little different. I definitely had some fun with like almost sound designy, soundscapey stuff. Like I took there was a song on it where I recorded like a cassette tape rewinding and fast forwarding, and sped that up and slowed it down, and then recorded like I recorded my previous full length album on vinyl, like me speeding that up and doing weird vinyl sounds and stuff, and then took like those little samples and elements and manipulated them and flew them into the track just for some like extra zest and things. And I like to do that kind of stuff a lot. Like I like taking that something that is either like a toy or like a cheesy little keyboard. Like I got this little guy, little cheesy little Yamaha that doesn't sound great, but also at the same time really sounds cool, I think, and
yeah, yeah,
manipulating it to the point where it could be anything,
yeah.
So yeah, I love messing around with weird sounds and stuff. I haven't like done much in the way of like featuring it as like a song on its own, other than like maybe like a little outro to a track or an interlude between tracks and things like that. There's the engineer that like the studio out in Brooklyn that I worked at, which is sadly no more since COVID.
Mm.
But the engineer there, Mike Beck, he had like this cool like it's like a monk chanter thing. It's like that's so that doesn't give a good description. It's like it chants a loop of like these monks,
Oh, cool.
but it's been modded out by this guy, so it's light sensitive, and it's almost like theremin in that way, where like if you cover it up, it like changes pitch and gets feedbacky, and
Mm.
so it gets super crazy sounding. And so I featured that on the song I'm putting out next month called Bloodshot, and that's like a cool, weird, mysterious noises. I like using noise in tracks in hopefully musical way for sure.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. No, yeah, no, it just I just find it. Sorry, man. I just lost my train of thought.
Yeah.
I'm like zonk out. Um, no, I find, yeah, adding those elements make like a track like so much more, somewhat at times, if done right, a song, it just adds a different level to the song and the track, and it's kind of like, but I love like the sounds of like monks and that like shamanistic kind of sound too. And I love that
Yeah.
you just like add that like analog kind of, or like that. I just love rough sound too, and just like random sounds. But
yeah. Well, I kind of feel like there's a lot of synthesized music has become really, I mean, popular obviously in the last 20, 40 years, whatever.
yeah,
And I really like using sounds that are like not synthesizers to get a sound that a synthesizer might achieve. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like getting something that's musical sounding, but maybe using pedals or just weird effects on like even the sound of like a, you know, high piano, or I literally mixing a song for someone. There was a whiteboard that was peeling apart.
Yeah.
So I peeled it off and then I like hit it and I was like, oh, this sounds like thunder. It sounds
Cool.
really cool. So I like hit that and took samples of that and like added that as like a little drum track, you know?
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah, that sort of thing is really fun to do for sure.
Well, like I know, like I can tell the difference between super like just down. You know, there's all sorts of libraries out there. You know, you can tell it's not like you can tell it was just downloaded and incorporated. But if you actually record a sound that you're trying to implement, or you know, go out in field and record like traffic, you know, it's real. You know, you can hear it, the roughness, the you know, like from a field recorder, and that adds a you know a more complex note to that track. I believe. I think.
I think so too. I think there's something to having because I mean, if you think about it, they just got samples and are using samples, and like you have mics, you got gear. Why don't you get your own? You know, get your own samples.
Exactly.
And
yeah.
And there's a song, actually, the album that reminded me of the Traffic Noise thing. I have that album closer on this. It's like a acoustic song called Brief Relief, and there's bird noises in it. And what it was, I just literally left. Hey, I'm in the interview. This is Lauren, my girlfriend.
Oh. Hello.
Yeah, recording. Oh, good. Laundry day.
Oh yeah, no worries.
But there's in that song group, there's bird sounds throughout it, and what it was I just was recording it at that point. My like home setup was downstairs, and we have a window open, and I was recording it in the morning, and it was maybe it was the evening, but I just opened up the window, and it was just while I was recording, you know. Not like while I was playing the take, but like in the same session. I was like, oh, that's cool. Just turn up the gain here, and birds are chirping. So I just kept that in, you know, the track, which was really just on a personal level, just more fun for me because I can listen back to the track and remember, you know, kind of, I sort of wrote that one and recorded it around the same time. So just kind of, I don't know. It's more just for me too, a little for me tree, you know, I can kind of think back about that day, which is fun.
Now, besides music, are you into like any other like arts, or do you like draw, make I don't know, or any dance, or
I say I'm not great with like visual art stuff, but I think I have a little bit of some scrappy charm with it. On my last full length, I did a few stop motion videos
cool.
Videos for songs, which was really fun. I did like one that was like sketches and doodles and crossing things out and stuff, which was really fun, and one that was a weird mishmash of clay and puppets and whiteboards and weird psychedelic stuff, and then one that was just clay and paper. And I had a lot of fun with it. They definitely have like a scrappy homemade feel, but in a way that I think looked cool. And I did, you know, as far as other art, I enjoy it. I like to write. Like I like writing. I you know, poems and just writing in general. And I like visual art. I don't have the steadiest, like, you know, fine motor skills. So
yeah.
it ends up looking a little bit you know, a little bit scrappy, but it's fun for me.
Yeah.
Well, what about you? You said you're a visual art guy, right?
I suppose to, or so people say I am. But see, like during the pandemic, I've been painting a lot. In this guy,
cool. Oh, that's cool.
It's like 2 foot by 3 foot, or 3 foot by 2 foot, whatever, on found wood. And I've been playing around with a lot of oil sticks, and doing a lot of studying and a lot of investigations via like just trying to find my visual language, I guess, too, regarding that, because I love to paint. And so I've been trying to kind of, and besides this show and the conversation series, and like I'm longing to get back to, like I said before, like just get back to shows and backstage and really do that. But besides that, yeah, I've been kind of in here just painting or just trying to create crazy ideas or trying to push myself further as
Yeah.
a creative because it took me a while to kind of say that I'm an artist, a creative person, because I have a degree in criminal justice, and I then went into graphic and web design. And then when I just picked up from Boston and just moved to Brooklyn, that's when I really started discovering who I was as an artist. And this was at 31, So,
Yeah.
but then I
That's
had my
awesome, man.
first showing of my photography, in 2017 in like October in Chelsea. So that was cool, and that was the universe saying like, yeah, this is it. This is what. And then I've been kind of fully pursuing it since. So,
That's cool, man.
yeah, yeah. So, but it took me a while to really, uh, to understand who I was, and then actually define myself as an artist or a creator.
Yeah, it sounds
Comparatively,
like you started to see that trajectory. I mean, you went into graphic design and website design. Like that's art,
yeah, I was bad at it though. I mean, like it's very difficult to do that, and like I'm not really too analytical per se. I'm more like I can see systems, so I understand how code works. I understand how technology works, but getting down to the nitty gritty, it gets boring for me too because I just want to like work with my hands, and that's why I love painting and thinking about painting processes, and also I love like producing too. Like I love putting on shows. Like
Cool.
the last couple of shows I did were so fun. Like I just love building communities of people, and this is why I love the show too because we're at this would be maybe conversation 38 or 39 if I'm correct. I may be incorrect, but you know 36 have been already released and over have 300,000 views so far in the series, which is cool.
Wow.
And people really love the conversation series and the people I have on, and they just find nuggets of information they haven't heard anywhere else, and I love that too. I find this is the art form as well.
Yeah.
Just having a conversation and with like just like a stranger in a frame that appears in Zoom, and then
For sure. Yeah.
trying to keep
It
that.
is an art form. I love, I mean, it's great entertainment. I love listening to just conversations, podcasts, and watching these things on, um, I don't know why that is something so soothing about just hearing people talk about, especially if it's about something that it's like a subject you're interested in. But even it doesn't always even have to be.
Yeah,
If they're
yeah.
having a good conversation and you're just like walking around with it in your ears or something, it's like nice, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I don't know how this sounds. Like I think I don't touch any of that. Like I said, I don't like produce. I just maybe edit in black and white, but I don't know. We toss it up on Spotify. I don't know how the audio is. It could just be like sketchy, but that's what I want. That's exactly what I want. I don't want to sound like Ira Glass, or super like crisp. But like I'm not going for that. I'm not going for that NPR style kind of like this is Ira Glass, like
Right. Yeah.
I'm just trying to be myself, and that's it really. And just
Cool.
just talk artist to artist, and that's it. And I don't know where this would go, but I never expected it to be like already 300,000 views already over, and which is cool. But now I'm like,
Yeah.
if I could get like a sponsorship, that would be cool to kind of fund it, like
Yeah, totally, man.
who knows?
Yeah. Well, I bet you it'll happen.
Yeah, who knows, man? Like, but where do you? I guess what would you like? Where do you hope your work evolves to, or like in the future? Like, is there like an ultimate goal you haven't achieved yet with your work, or like a venue you love to play? Like anything else you kind of have that like the higher level kind of dream that you haven't accomplished yet, or?
I mean, yeah, I would love all of the fame and fortune and the world and everything, and I mean, as far as like solid goals and everything, it's like it's a tough one because I kind of don't like. I mean, I like trying to get to go to the next steps, but I don't love living in that world of like um I'm doing this to get somewhere. You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Yeah.
Because it makes the whole thing so. Um, I've like got anxiety stuff, and I guess that feeds into that a little bit. So it's so much nicer to live in the world of like I want to make something. I want to be doing this. So get there. Things. I want to achieve things so that they can help me to continue doing what I love. You know what I mean? If I can keep if I can keep being able to prioritize playing music and recording, and um, playing it live and recording it, and also recording other bands, and just making music my daily activity and daily life, then I think that that's enough that I'll be happy. You know what I mean? And I know that that sounds, maybe I've been living in Santa Cruz on the West Coast for too long, and it's a little hippie sounding or something, but
Yeah. No.
I definitely feel like for me it's like um I don't know. I know people that have given themselves like you know, I give myself 2 years, or I'll give myself 3 years, and then if I don't have this done by then what a lot of times happens is then they don't reach their goal, and then they move on to something else.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just want to be able to do music forever, or for as long as I can.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I guess that's my ultimate goal, is to figure out a way to keep it going. And yeah, I want to keep playing shows. I want to keep touring. I'd love for more people to hear the stuff, and I um, want to keep making music that I'm really proud of, is the bottom line, and that feels representative of me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. It's the more authentic self comparatively, like saying, you know, going for it, going for the fame and fortune. Yeah. Like, but ideally, like artists just want to continue creating, as life,
right,
comparatively to if whatever comes. But
right. It's like the bottom line. I think it's like, why am I doing this? If I was really just in it for like the money, or if I was really just in it for the money, I would have got a different job. And if
oh
I was
yeah,
really and if I was really just in it for fame, which is like exciting, but it's also like little bits of success that I've seen with things like have been great, but they're also like, if you focus on them, regardless of how you focus on them, the good or the bad, it can kind of mess with your head.
mm,
And I can imagine that only gets weirder. I would love more success. Don't get me wrong. Everybody who's in this business a lot of times probably wouldn't say no to more success. But um, I guess just for me to keep going, I can't live in that mindset. You know what I mean? I just have to keep making like, why am I doing it? Is because I love doing it. So
yeah.
that's the victory there.
I think that's a healthier mindset too, because like if you
Yeah.
start getting this feeding your ego, like I'm the
Yeah.
best, you're like I'm gonna be famous, and like it could just be like a bipolar ride,
Oh
like
yeah. Yeah. You're never, because even I think even whatever like you do achieve, then there's a new set of goals, and you're never going to be happy. You know what I mean? I think it's always good to have goals, but just to keep that in mind, that the reason that your real goal should be just the act of creating.
yeah,
If that's
yeah.
what you want to do. Yeah.
And
Um,
yeah, no,
it
that's
seems
what
more sustainable. Yeah. Yeah.
that's kind of where I've been, like I've struggled with, like it's like, yeah, it's like, or I've had to ask myself, why am I doing this? Like, do I really want to? I always have to check in with myself, like, what's the authentic self, and who am I? Why am I creating? Is it for somebody else, or is it for me? You know,
Right.
it's like am I trying to do too much with this, or like am I trying to force something that's not me because of these other people's opinions, or because like, in photography there's a lot of like open calls. Am I trying to force something, trying to submit, which is really
Right.
not natural? And I kind of I could go on a rant on that stuff, but so it's like, yeah, I've been to the point to where I've been to, there's been some times where moments where it's been like, yeah, tried to fit things in where, I was trying to fit like a square peg in a round hole, like to go back to
Right.
the not proverbs, what, I don't know, I forget the term, for common,
Analogy?
maybe.
Is it an analogies? Metaphors? They're
um
kind of, it's all things.
yeah,
Yeah.
but in the end, you have to just try to be yourself and create, like you said, and create because you have to create. And if the
And try and
universe,
keep trying to like keep trying to put something cool out there, like keep trying to do something that is maybe hasn't been done or hasn't been done in this particular way, and keep trying to add to the you know add to what's out there in a cool way.
yeah,
uh
yeah,
but yeah, at the end of the day, you're also doing it because you love, hopefully because you love to do it, and that's it. Yeah.
yeah. And
So,
to just kind of wrap, I guess I don't want to keep you any longer. You have like a more recent single out, right? I believe it was out in April. Was it Tomorrow
yeah,
Is Today? If I'm
yeah, yeah, yeah,
correct.
yeah. That
Could
is
you
correct.
speak upon that little track, so we can kind of wrap with maybe a bit of promo for your stuff? But
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That one was I'm really stoked on how that one came out. That was an example of what we talked about earlier. It's like just kind of a long time of piecing things together. Like I started building a track for that one in back at the end of 2016, I think, actually, even
oh
maybe
wow,
early 2017. And each time I would put out an album, that would be one of the demos I'd submit, and it was always like, it's cool, but it's just not done.
yeah,
And it was a lot slower, and the verse was totally different. It was like a weird like mystery kind of guitar sound sort of thing going on, and it was more monotone, and I just couldn't crack the code on it. And then finally this time, after things shut down, I was like at home, and I was like, well, maybe I should dig back into that one. And I ended up flying it accidentally into Pro Tools at the wrong sample rate, so it sped up and the
mm,
pitch changed, and I was like, oh, that's wrong. But I was like, actually, I like it faster though. So then I actually just did speed everything. I just sped all the tracks up. Then I just took out the verses and rebuilt the verses and changed the melody and changed everything around. And yeah, and it, with the and then when it was done, it was like, oh, this is like one of my favorite new tracks. Finally, like figured it out. So um, that's the story of that one. I don't know how exciting it is for anybody, but it was. I had trumpet on that one, actually played by Bart Budwig, who's a great artist and engineer and trumpet player up in Oregon. He lives out
mm,
in Enterprise, Oregon. So I sent me a little file sharing. He played on that one and one more called Long Way Back on the album. But yeah, I've put out that one, and then last year I put out one other one called What I Mean to Say, which was like a slower ballady, sort of trippy, little Beatlesque kind of vibe. And then I got one more single coming out next month, Bloodshot, and then one more after that called Mind's Eye.
mm.
And then the full album's coming out at the end of October, which I'm excited.
Now, do you have a title for the full album yet, or is that
Yeah,
pending?
I do. The album's called We All Start Again, which I
Cool.
thought was, there's a name of a song called We All Start Again, and the theme sort of runs. There's a couple songs that have that lyric in it, and then there's themes of like time and clocks and things in a few of the songs, and it felt like also with the like world sort of starting up again, it kind of felt like a weird good coincidence. So I was like, that's the name. Yeah.
Very cool. Well, Henry Chadwick, thank you so much for joining me in this lovely discussion, and we'll be on the lookout for the new album in the fall.
Awesome. Thanks a lot for having me. I really appreciate it. This was
Thanks,
fun.
man. Have a what's it, afternoon there or
Yeah, it's about
midday?
noon, midday.
Cool.
Yeah.
Enjoy the rest of the day. Here it's 3 o'clock, so I'm gonna enjoy that rest of
right.
the afternoon.
Good afternoon, good evening. Yeah.
Be well.
Right on. Have a good weekend.
You too, man.